Good evening, and welcome to issue 15 of Drinking with Comics. This is our season finale, so no one knows what's going to happen, least of all me, so we'll see.
You mean tonight?
Yes,
or
in general. Who knows? Which we'll get to. I'm Shawn. This is Mike.
I'm Mike.
Got Joe Baxter.
Beard
We've got
Baxter.
Science Officers Sarah and Aaron.
Hello.
We've got a special guest from Austin, Texas, Dorsey.
Dorsey? You're from Austin, huh?
Yes.
Cool,
we have Sal from salesphotos.net in the audience.
Check that out.
And
Some great punk rock photography.
We have our hardcore studio audience.
Our studio home. Does it work? Does it work in real life? You guys are not whipping up a frenzy.
No, it doesn't work.
It doesn't. Shit.
No, but somewhere Paula Abdul is crying.
Why?
Because she's Paula Abdul. Wouldn't you cry?
Oh,
sorry.
I thought her nude photos leaked. I don't know. I would watch.
So it's been, well, I mean, it hasn't been a year, and it hasn't really been.
No, it's been really fast.
Yeah.
Actually, this is I guess time flies when you're drinking beer. But I'm so glad that you started this show and that you invited me to be a part of it, and that you bring a 6-pack at least every other week, and it's been fun.
It has been. It has been really great. I mean, well, we're talking like we're setting
we're
up a fire
taking a month off
or
or two,
Ganges or something. But we're taking a month off. October's a busy month. I'm going to travel.
I'm going to work.
He's going to work, and you've got a lot of stuff coming up. We'll get to that.
A lot of work, yeah.
Yeah.
That and other thing. 24-hour comic day.
24-hour comic day.
Means when you can make your life's work also kind of your life's party. That's a good place to be. So
I'm envious, man. I wanted to say real quick because I'm really bad at plugging stuff. I'm trying to get better, but right now, anybody that would like to, if you could go on iTunes and give us a good review, or I mean, if you want to give us a bad review, that's fine too.
Love bad reviews.
But 5 stars is cool. But it's getting downloaded, but it helps get us placed in search categories or something like that. I don't fully understand it. And the other thing is we have a survey up. It's drinkingwithcomics.com/ or / I guess survey. So it's pretty easy to remember.
It's on our Facebook page too, right?
It's on our Facebook page as well. And,
am I allowed to fill it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I started to. I was like, this isn't right.
But yeah, I mean, it'll help us when season 2 starts. It'll help us maybe take some things under suggestion, and yeah. So please and thank you. So
just don't hurt our feelings, please.
Yeah, that's fine. So tonight we're drinking. So I wanted to get this in because we're taking October off, and we're gonna miss the seasonal most likely. And one of my favorite beers ever is Shipyard's Pumpkinhead Pumpkin Ale. And so made sure that we got some of this to get it in.
I cheated and started drinking it. It is delicious.
There's a lot.
It's the best beer that you brought.
There's a lot of pumpkin ales. Now wait, we need to talk about these glasses as well.
We'll get to that. Let's talk about Pumpkinhead now.
So there's a lot of pumpkin ales. There's more now, I think, than there was even 5 or 6 years ago when I first found this. But this is the perfect.
It's like a
balance.
Pumpkin pie, man. It's really good.
Yes, and
even better with this lead encased glass. No, I like it in the bottle lead. Actually. Yeah, you taste that?
Yeah.
Wait, so where did these come from?
The pumpkin heads or the glasses?
The glasses.
Oh, well, the glasses are part of an event that we are doing this Saturday, which by the time you watch this will be too late to come to probably.
But if you're streaming,
then stream on over here on Saturday night. We're going to have a signing with Charles Soule. There's paint on the rim.
Nice.
Charles Soule, the writer of Death of Wolverine. And we hooked up with Jeff Stokely, who's a buddy of mine and also a comic book artist, fantastic artist, and he's a beer drinker. And he did this awesome Wolverine pinup a few years back. So I asked if we could use it for this glass
it's pretty badass.
that we made, and he's like, yeah. So, come down if you're one of the first 100 people here Saturday. The party starts at 7. You get a free glass, and we'll put some free beer in it for you too.
So talk about. So this is a party celebrating Wolverine's death. So
it's kind of a
Lady
funeral.
Deathstrike will be here. Donald Pierce.
Actually, the most dangerous Wolverine foe of all, his author, will be here, Charles Soule. Yeah, I don't know if Sabretooth or anybody will be showing up, but this, we all know Death of Wolverine. He's not going to be dead for more than probably a year. So if you're a big Wolverine fan, don't go jump off a bridge. Stick around. Remember, watch the suicide video I did two pints back.
2 pints back.
So he's gonna come back. But I will say, that the execution, no pun intended, of this book, pun was intended, is really good. It's a good story. It's like, wow. Wolverine, I hate to say it, he's one of my favorite characters. I've been bored to tears
Well,
by
he's so
most.
overused.
Yeah, he's overused, and like everything under the sun has been done with him. I think this is probably not even the first storyline called Death of Wolverine.
Probably not.
But they mean it this time for a year. It's good. I mean, it's like, he's like, come at me, and yeah. So
I've heard. You're not the only person I've heard say that it's good. I mean, the art's awesome.
Steve McNiven art.
Yes, Steve McNiven,
great artist. And Charles Soule's a smart writer.
Okay.
Have you read any of his stuff?
I think I'm unfamiliar now.
Let me tell you a little bit about
Okay.
the stuff he did. One of the first miniseries he did for Image was called 27, and it's about like that phenomenon of the rock stars dying at the age 27.
Oh my God, this was like 3 years ago.
Yeah. He did two miniseries.
I meant to read that. That was before I found your store.
Okay.
So it was
I don't
the
know
dark
if we
days.
have it or not,
It was
but
the dark days. I would not have been able to find it.
I recommend it. It's a good book. And that's the first I'd heard of him. And then he also does a book called Letter 44. So once you're elected president, they take you in this room, and they give you this letter 44, that tells you what's really going on on Earth in relation to what's going on with the universe. And it's it's a good book. He's writing, I think, She-Hulk now. He writes Superman, Wonder Woman.
Oh, David Goyer will be glad to know that.
Yeah,
Paul Matt.
She-Whore. No, but he actually, he writes She-Hulk in a way that is very respectable. And, he's a good writer. So we're proud to have him. And we got so excited, we went and made these fancy beer pints. Or, soda pints if you're under 21. Yeah.
So to speak to what you were saying, Comics Alliance has this awesome quote about, is he going to really be dead? Death in comics is not death. It's a dramatic pause.
There you go.
That's wonderful.
I want that on my tombstone.
Nice.
Don't worry, he'll be back.
Just ask Charles Soule, like, hey, after I die, will you write me back to life?
You have paint on your room too. This really troubles me. But I guess it'll be fine. Yeah, it's just.
I don't know. I'm.
See the concern we have with the comic book for people's well-being.
That's true. You do. You always do.
But go ahead.
I'm just, I'm sure it's good. I have such a hard time with, like, you fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. I'm not saying that Charles Soule did that or is doing that.
Right.
I'm just saying, number one, Wolverine's so overused. I love Paul Cornell, but I can't read the Wolverine book he writes because I just don't want to read a Wolverine book.
You're done.
I love him in Uncanny Avengers. I think Remender has a really good way of using all these characters that most people would like have as a focal point.
Right.
Almost like peripheral. Like, oh, Wolverine just got like burned alive and his skin's gone. He'll be back in like 2 issues because he's got it's like
right.
Well,
the healing factor went away. That's kind of what set this up. Was he lost his healing factor, and he's he's concerned. He's like trying to figure out what's going on, and
he's
every time he pops his claws, it's like traumatic to him now.
He's actually getting drunk, probably.
He can finally get drunk, for more than like 2 minutes.
That'll segue into something later.
Huh?
He got tattooed.
He got tattooed?
Oh, could he not get tattooed
he was
before?
Like, crying the whole time. He's like, no.
Which issue did he get tattooed in? I want to read that.
A couple issues back.
Like in the regular series, huh?
Tell me he got a tramp stamp that says like a Jubilee.
What is the tattoo?
It was a butterfly.
No, Jean, right? It would be Jean Grey.
No, he actually got a rose because of the first woman that he was ever in love with.
Oh.
Way back in the day with the Wolverine origins.
That's good to know. Okay, cool. Yeah, and dude, this issue here, it's like it kind of reminded me of Rambo, if that's a selling point to you. I mean, it's badass.
Interesting. Okay.
So part of being badass is being human and the frailties of being human, and it's hard to worry about a guy that's invulnerable.
Well, I mean, that's the thing with Superman, right? It's like he's not interesting because it's like he's Superman. Like he's always gonna come back. He's always gonna win. He's not gonna get hurt. He can do anything.
Right. That's a challenge to write that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. So 7 o'clock on Saturday if you're streaming, come on down. I want to use now. Normally we have like maybe a different. We try to do things in some kind of order, but this just segues so perfectly into my flashback kind of pick.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do it now.
Let's do it.
So, I mentioned like he can get drunk, and the reason I mention that is because, in 1988, Marvel still had, graphic novels. We've talked about this before, like trades. Things weren't written in 6-issue arcs so that they could be traded immediately, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that's not collected or is collected in these big black and white compendiums. What they did do then, like original graphic novels, which were original stories that were in this format, and they also did prestige format, which we've talked about here before with Stray Toasters and a couple other things, I think.
Yeah.
So Marvel had Epic Comics, which was kind of like a precursor to DC's Vertigo, but not quite as ballsy as Vertigo, I think.
It was more adult.
More
some
adult.
creator-owned books were there. They had Epic Magazine first, which was sort of their answer to Heavy Metal Magazine, which was
I didn't
pretty
realize
popular.
that.
And that lasted about 32 issues. I love it when I can teach people stuff, which isn't often anymore. but yeah, so, and there was a bunch of like little short 6 to 8 page. Some of them were serialized. They did the Last Galactus story. John Byrne did a thing called the Last Galactus story.
Really?
That didn't finish because the magazine got canceled before he finished. And yeah, no, you would love Epic Magazine.
Wait a minute. How is the Last Galactus story something that didn't get finished just because they canceled it? Like, how did they not bring that back? Or
I don't know if it was like John Byrne was like, thank God this got canceled because I don't know how it was going to end or what. But yeah, it is one of the great unfinished pieces of comic book history.
Like the F. Scott Fitzgerald book. What's the unfinished one? The Last Tycoon.
Maybe.
One
I
of
haven't read
the
it.
great unfinished.
Was that it? Was that also in Epic Illustrated?
No, but because I think they tried to settle with his estate and it just didn't happen, and they were like, no.
Can you read like what he did do or no?
Yeah. It's published. It's just it doesn't end.
Oh, that's cool.
So.
Well, yeah, Last Galactus story is very similar. Although I got all the issues that had it, and I was excited to sit down and read it and kind of come up with how would it end. I think because it didn't end. It's kind of that sort of Chinese democracy thing that like if it was just the mythological thing that everybody talked about, it has more mystique than But it's not that great of a story. It's okay. It's okay. It's good. But.
Well, so Epic Comics. So Walter Simonson, Louise Simonson wrote, and John J. Muth, I guess, and Kent Williams did a 4-part prestige format series that's Havok and Wolverine Meltdown. So now this is 1988. So the setup is basically, I remember this because this comic shop that I used to go to sometimes had it on the stand, and they had like a staff pick card, shelf talker kind of card up, and it was like follow Wolverine and Havok on their hard drinking adventures in Mexico. And I remember buying it, my mom being like, what are you buying? The hard drinking adventures? Like, what are you... So it starts out, here's a premise, like, the X-Men, this is still during Claremont's run. They've recently gone through this thing that was later kind of called Dissolution and Rebirth, where they get into some pretty bad trouble, and then this cosmic entity gives them a way out. So they go through this giant mirror thing called the Siege Perilous, and afterwards...
Was that Gateway or Gatekeeper? Gateway, right?
Yes. And after they go through this thing, no security systems can pick them up. So that, like, no video cameras, no audio bugging or whatever. So that's like part of a setup. But so Wolverine and Havok go to Mexico to drink, and so it starts out. It sets up the bad guys first, and it gives you like Chernobyl, and it shows you that Chernobyl in the Marvel universe or in the Epic for this story was kind of something that was. Behind the scenes, there was this Dr. General Neutron and Dr. something. Not Doctor Who. Although maybe it was Doctor Who because, he can...
Because he can't remember who his name was. Doctor Who?
Doctor Who. But so they've kind of engineered the Chernobyl thing. And so Havok and Wolverine are drinking in Mexico and starting fights in bars. And, you go from Chernobyl to that. And then they become unwitting pawns. Thank you. Jesus.
They should have had a podcast. They could have just had beer and not gotten in this trouble.
It's true. It's really good, and it's interesting, and they play up like the healing factor. There's a great scene where Wolverine gets blasted with like nuclear, whatever force beam, and like all that's left is his bone. So it's like hand with flesh with claws, bicep, and then just bone.
Cool.
It's pretty cool.
I was looking at the credits, and I noticed that John J. Muth draws all the Havok pages, and Kent Williams did all the Wolverine pages.
Which I never knew that until
I
just
read
it the other day.
It's pretty seamless. Like, their art styles really match up pretty well.
I thought that was so cool, but I didn't remember that.
Dude, I remember getting this, too, when it first came out. And I was not a comic retailer at that point. I was just a young, snot-nosed kid who bought comics, and this didn't appeal to me. Like, it was like, oh, good, a Wolverine finally.
Yeah, and then
like this back then, it was like, finally a Wolverine solo story. And that was an exciting, unique thing back then. But now it's like, wow, I do want to read it. And if you look at the artwork, it's very like, sort of.
I guess it's painted.
It's painted and it's experimental,
Yeah,
a bit abstract sometimes. It's really cool.
It kind of reminds me of Straight Toasters. There was a lot of this kind of thing going around in 88, 87, 88.
Well, I was gonna say like this was before it became known as the more sort of universal prestige format. This was called Dark Knight format. In
Really?
comic shops they would call this. This is gonna be a Dark Knight format book. Because Dark Knight was the first to have that format of a cardstock cover, square bound with the printing process that would actually allow for more than just your 4-color press CMYK. So you have nuances of color and everything. And Dark Knight was very popular, obviously, and other companies took notice. Marvel took notice, and DC within itself took notice, and so this was followed by Green Arrow Longbow Hunters, which was a 3-issue series, which was pretty cool, by Mike Grell.
Oh my God! I was just gonna say, is that the Grendel guy? I never
Mike
read
Grell.
it.
Matt Wagner's the Grendel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so that was cool, and then Marvel had this, which was
I have that. I don't remember
Mike
anything about
Mignola's Wolverine Jungle Adventure. It was kind of an annual thing, but it was done in the prestige format, and then Mike also did the.
That was almost my flashback pick this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of, relate. And I remember and they're not that expensive, I mean, they were like
these
$4, $3, and the average comic was
$3.50 at the time. And I mean, you figure now that's like a lot of the Image books I read are $3.50. Velvet's $3.50, Lazarus is $3.50.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of adjust it for inflation. It was because a comic back then was like $1.25 or $1.50, so it was like twice the price.
Was it even that much? No, 88. It's like it's 75 cents to $1.
75 cents to $1.
Yeah,
it's all so foggy now.
I know, right? and we're so used to paying like $3. Oh God,
dude, I would be so poor if comics only cost 75 cents right now.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, this was an exciting time for comics, and it was. I think certainly a revolutionary time where a lot of the companies were doing. I guess they still do it nowadays, but this was a really big ballsy move for Marvel and DC to do this with their characters back then. It was like they were just like kind of kids comics, and all of a sudden, boom!
Yeah,
there was this adult material.
And like you said, Dark Knight, I think, is largely responsible for that, right? Because it's like, you can do Batman in a way that's. A grown-up, it would appeal to a grown-up. Now, so Watchmen did the same, because I didn't read Watchmen until it was collected. Was it prestige format?
No, it was floppies.
Floppies, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess that makes sense, because it was like 12 of them, right?
There were 12 of them. Yeah, you know about like the pitch for Watchmen, it was going to be the Carlton characters, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they didn't want to do it.
Alan Moore really lucked out that DC wouldn't let, because if he had done that,
it wouldn't.
And it was like the question, and it might have been. It still would have been revolutionary, but he wouldn't own those characters.
No.
It would have been another work-for-hire gig.
He doesn't own them, though.
I think he...
No, because they did that before Watchmen, and I think it was work-for-hire.
Well, okay, he created them. He might not own them, but he created them. Yeah, they wouldn't be his creations.
Alan Moore is just like, he doesn't want anything to do with anything he's done, before, which, his writing's amazing. I can't say that he doesn't even alienate me at times where it's like, 6 months ago he made some statement where it's like, if you read Grant Morrison's books, I don't want you to read mine. It's like, come on. Really? Really?
Well, if you listen to Coldplay, I don't want you to listen to me.
Really?
Not even my music.
I don't listen to Coldplay.
I'm just saying, if anybody out there listening, no, I'm just kidding. I was trying to get his hashtag on iTunes with
We're editing the last episode, and there's a part where you're like, I said I'd rather listen to Coldplay. I'd rather listen to Coldplay than watch Mad Max, I think. And you're like, oh, well, you would rather listen to Coldplay than do anything else. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Did I say that?
I didn't say that. Back up. Back up. Not a Coldplay fan.
I'd rather get raped with a barbed wire penis than listen to Coldplay. Hashtag Chris Martin.
I wonder what he would say to that.
I have some barbed wire.
He might say that.
No, I don't know. Who knows what he would say? Who cares? Okay, sorry, we can't go. It's season finale. We got to go out, go big or go home,
Yeah,
dude.
that's true. That's true.
And if you're gonna go home, go watch Gotham.
So now, talking about Marvel and the Prestige format, and like I mean, some of these this period where there were these great stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I came in here last week or the week before, pick up my stuff, and there was a free magazine, right? This Marvel 75th anniversary, which we were talking about this. So if the 25th anniversary, now, okay, I've seen a comic book now from like the 80s that has 25th anniversary, and I've seen one from 92 that has 25th anniversary. I'm not even 40 yet, but it's the 75th anniversary. What are they judging? It seems like they keep changing their origin date.
Well, all right, so I can explain that too.
Okay.
And they also have 100th anniversary issues out, which take place 25 years in the future. Would that confuse you? Shit, I didn't even think about it. No, I didn't think about it. I'm like pulling it, and then the 100th anniversary. Then like finally, it's like, how do they? Where this? So 100 years ago was what? 1914.
And there was no Marvel comics.
There was no Marvel. I don't think there were comic books. So, but then like somebody explained to me what was going on. Which, okay, so the first Marvel comic, I think, if you do the math on a calculator, you'll see it was 1939. It was Marvel Comics #1. And it was actually published by Atlas or Timeline. Yeah. And it does have a Submariner. It's got a Human Torch. It's got the original Human Torch who later became Vision.
Right.
And I think Kazar's in it, maybe? I don't know. He appeared in those early days.
So he was like Power Elite back then.
He was Power Elite?
Well, he was like one of the big, and then what they just
one of the big four.
And then they're like, we have no room for this loincloth, dude. Just
right.
shove him into the savage land and leave him be.
And there's probably some characters in there we've never heard from again. So the Marvel age of comics began in 1963 with Fantastic Four #1. So 63, 73, 83, or maybe 62. So I think 61. Thank you. Okay, close. 1961 is Fantastic Four #1. So,
okay.
Yeah. So that's why you get the 25th anniversary, and that's why they're now talking about the 75th anniversary. Does that make sense?
No, I'm still confused, but that's fine. Don't explain it to me. So I want to talk about their top. Oh, bless you, sir. We're kind of like pigeoned in here. Thank you.
Hey. Thanks, dude. Dave.
Dude.
It's like a key club with mostly dudes.
So they in this Marvel magazine, they have the top like 75 Marvel stories.
I'm not gonna drink out of the cancer glass. I'm just gonna drink out of it.
Embracing.
The first time I promise you, it's not like it.
So should I drink out of it?
Yeah.
Okay, it'd make you feel better.
Lead won't kill you like the first 2 times you.
It's like a.
Oh, so the third one should not be from this glass.
Yeah, third.
I feel like this is a secret origin story that's happening for me right now.
Your skeleton, Mr. Wellman, is coated with something called lead, and it's unbreakable.
And I can't get drunk anymore, no matter how much I drink.
Then we'll go to Mexico and end up in a nuclear reactor in India. That'd be awesome.
I love it.
Honey, I'll be back in, I don't know, however long
4
it takes
issues.
to do whatever happened in that comic.
Works for me.
So they have the top 75 stories or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to talk about the
Top 5?
the top 5.
It's a countdown.
Apparently.
Talk about the middle 10.
All right. Okay, so top 5. Let's do top 10. I'll talk about top 10.
All right.
Number 10, Amazing Fantasy number 15, which of course is the introduction
First
of Spider-Man. I'm
very
not going to
important.
argue that. I've never read it. Obviously he's, a very important character.
Can I speak to that real quick?
Yeah.
So when I teach comic book classes, how to make comics and stuff.
I love you.
Yeah, and I always use that as the sort of the example of a great comic book story. It's like 12 pages long, so I can bring my copy of Amazing Fantasy 15, reprinted.
I was
like 1996. But most kids in school have seen the Spider-Man movie, so I ask them questions like, how did he become Spider-Man? When he gets bitten by a spider, it gives him powers, but is he a hero yet? No, he's not a hero. He's not a hero till he sees that Uncle Ben has been murdered by the guy who lets him go.
He's kind of a douche at first, right?
So you have a character arc. You've got like a theme, which is kids.
Great power comes great responsibility.
Boom. This is like what I do in my class. Spoiler alert. And I mean, so you have like a character with problems and human problems.
Yeah, right.
And I think it's just it might be the best story. I mean, it doesn't have many nuances or not to say what the number one story is, but that's a good story too. But like that's just after you know the characters and have lived with the characters for a while, then you start doing things with them.
Yeah,
But
of course.
This is just I think it's a modern, not even it's a classic. It's a classic up there with Shakespeare, up there with anybody.
All right.
It's a fantastic story.
I buy that. I mean, I've never read it. Obviously, I don't know that I need to read it. I mean, I would like to read it, but I think we all know.
Yeah, but it's 12 pages. Just read it.
Yeah, it's only 12
Well,
pages.
I mean, what's it going for on eBay?
Dude, you
No,
can,
I know there's a reprint. I know.
It's been reprinted.
It never even dawned on me that there's a reprint. Okay, but so would you argue that it should be higher up than number 10?
I think so. Oh yeah.
I mean, it seems like maybe
yeah,
it should
certainly.
be, right?
Yes, and I mean not to take away from the top 10, but
Well-
yeah, no, that is one of the greatest stories.
So number 9, the Winter Soldier, and this is a 2004 series. So I guess this is the Brubaker and Epting. It's
Yeah.
But now here, so this says 2004 number 1 through 14. So
Right.
this is the Captain America
It's a
arc.
story arc. Mm-hmm.
But this doesn't end with Cap's death, right?
No, that was Cap
because
25.
that's 20, right? So.
But that's already introduced the Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, but it's interesting because I always thought that was one whole story. Like those first 25 issues, like I would think that would be here instead of.
I mean, to me, that whole Brubaker run
Yeah,
is
it's
a
one
story because
story.
he dies and then Winter Soldier becomes Cap, and yeah, it's but I mean, it's good.
Yeah,
It was good.
it
I
is
like what
really
they're
good.
doing with Cap now better. I mean, that was more of a, if you like the Winter Soldier movie, this is a great
It's
series to read
fantastic.
because
And-
it's intrigue, espionage. Captain America's supporting cast plays a major role in it.
And I will say, going into it, he's gonna die, right?
Well, now you do, but
I
not
mean,
then.
I knew when I read it like 5 or 6 years ago. Somebody gave me the omnibus and they're like, "Read this." And I was like, "Okay." I knew he was gonna die. I was still totally surprised by the circumstances of his death. I thought it was really, really good.
Well, I was a retailer then, and it caught us off guard because it was kind of the epilogue to Civil War, which is
right.
later on in the list. And, usually at the end of a big, mega crossover, whatever big thing is going to happens in the last issue. Civil War was really good. It brought up a lot of interesting questions. Came out at a very interesting time in our country with George Bush and those douchebags. But at the end of the series, it was like, okay, Cap is in captivity, but nothing major shook up the Marvel Universe. And then like a week or two later, Cap 25 came out. And it was one of those, like, we didn't know it was happening. And
That's interesting.
Yahoo News spoiled it that morning. And
Yeah.
people come out of the woodwork looking for anytime somebody dies.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So.
I mean, it's definitely, especially if you like the movie, the Winter Soldier, it's worth reading. I liked the movie a lot. It's kind of cliche to say that it's better, but it is. I mean, there's just more nuance. There's more things going on. And again, I was really, the circumstances, knowing that he's going to die, I was still totally surprised by the way that things panned out. So it was cool.
I like that the movie only takes 2 hours to watch.
Yes, that's true.
Rather than read all that.
Number 8, Marvel's number 1. I have no experience with this. Alex Ross is amazing. I'm not a fan, and that's not saying
he's a douchebag.
He's amazing. It's not. I don't like that art. Like it's very. It.
Fascist.
Well, no. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's weird.
Have you ever looked at Nazi propaganda and looked at Alex Ross art?
That's weird. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, seriously,
You don't
everything's
think
like
he
an
works
upshot.
for the Red Skull, do you?
I think that.
Joe,
Well,
you're in with all those guys.
Joe's like, I am not a Nazi. Sir.
I didn't mean that. Come
I
on.
didn't say that.
Wait.
You didn't say that, but you're wearing a button that actually says, "I am not a Nazi."
No, I'm not.
No, I don't.
I couldn't say that. That's because
So we'll just bypass this.
Well,
So
Alex Ross is a douchebag, so
Marvel's
Marvel's
people
loses
hold it up
points.
really high. I don't know.
I'll tell you my Alex Ross story someday.
Okay.
I can actually, hashtag Alex Ross is a douchebag, and we'll talk about that later next season. Okay.
Okay.
What personal thing happened between me and Alex Ross?
Ooh,
Yeah.
juicy. All right, next season. That's a gotta see for next season. Number 7.
6.
No, 7.
Oh, 7. Yeah, you're right.
8. 8, 7, 6.
Oh, the
Yeah, I know. That happened to me.
I know that. That's a terrible chart. Who set that up?
Yeah, I don't know. Infinity Gauntlet. It's great. It's classic. It's great. It's not easy reading when you go back now because it does that thing where, like, if I have not been reading a lot of modern comics, it's the same. I talk about this with Nick Fury versus Shield. It's great, but it's written at a time when the writers were kind of instructed by editorial staff to constantly, like, Wolverine's always got to say I'm the best. I am at what I do. Nick Fury's got the things that he spouts. His kind of, catchphrases and whatnot. There's exposition coming out of everybody's mouth all the time. But nonetheless, there's some really sublime moments in Infinity Gauntlet. If you like the Marvel Universe in movies, the Marvel movie universe, you should probably read it because I think that's where they're going.
This is, it kind of is the guide for everything. Like, the Cosmic Cube.
Yeah.
Infinity Gems, everything you've seen in Thor, Guardians, everything is referenced here. I mean,
Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the master plan for everything they're doing cinematically.
Cinematically, yeah. I mean, basically, so here, in a nutshell, Thanos, who literally loves death, he's like trying to woo Lady Death, not Neil Gaiman's Lady Death. That I would have understood because she's cute, but she's like a skull. I mean, she looks like the Spectre, and Moon Knight had a baby.
She looked like Buffy in season 7.
Isn't she the skull most of the time? Oh yeah! Yeah, have a hamburger, would you, Sarah Michelle Gellar? Have 2. So there's these Infinity Gems, and if you put them all together, then you can control everything in space and time. Thanos gets it, and he basically wipes out like half of the population of the universe. So the interesting thing is, like, while this was happening, I mean, I was a big fan of Peter David's Hulk run, and there's a moment where, like, Rick Jones, big supporting cast member of the Hulk at that time, maybe still, I don't know, just disappears, as did, like, just a lot of people.
And they get wiped out?
Yeah, because Thanos just made them not exist anymore. And so then, like, all the heroes are like, oh my god, they band together. It's good.
So you're telling me Bruce Banner became the Hulk for nothing? Because he was trying to rescue Rick Jones.
Right? I know. Wouldn't you, if he disappeared in front of you, wouldn't you just be like, you're nothing. Kidding? Like, I've gone through 30 years of this terror that's ruined my marriage and ruined my life, and there you go. 6, X-Men Days of Future Past.
That was great. That was good. And, I mean, 2 issues. Like, nowadays,
2
if
issues!
they were to do that now, I mean, I think they have, like, kind of revisited that sort of thing. It's like, all right, this is going to be a 6-month event. It's going into every book, and it's just going to become, for us, probably watered down. But Days of Future Past was this special, like, moment of, X-Men 141, 142, coming in at the heels of the Dark Phoenix saga, which is going to be the next thing. But I think it's superior to Dark Phoenix. I have a really short attention span, so if you can tell me a story in 2 issues, you got me. If it takes 9 issues, you better. They
really didn't need more than 2 for this, and I mean, the movie was good, but
it was different.
Here's they don't send Wolverine back in time. It's you start in the future, I think, and things are pretty much what you saw in the movie, like Sentinels wiping everybody out, blah blah blah, and Kitty Pryde goes back in time and inhabits her body in the 80s, and basically is like, okay, I'm not who you think I am. I'm the future version of myself, and if you don't do what I say, this is what's going to happen. And it's 2 really good issues. I mean, it's really solid, and I'm glad they didn't water it down. I mean, I'm glad but it's Claremont. We've talked about his genius before. It's like, boom, done.
Yeah, that was sort of the kind of the almost the end. I mean, that's the last great, I think, Claremont storyline.
I disagree. I love I love Dissolution and Rebirth, which is
which one was that?
Somewhere there is an ad. I have a comic somewhere. I ran across it recently, like within the last year, and I didn't earmark what comic it is. But there is like a full page ad. They do their ads for their events or whatever. So this is like 1988 or 89 or whatever, and they have an ad. It says X-Men Dissolution and Rebirth, but it was never. I've never heard it referred to in any other place other than that ad as that.
As that.
And it was basically the Siege Perilous, which I talked about
before. Which issues?
It's like roughly 48. Is it 48 through like...
40 was the one with Storm, and then the nanny got Storm, so I think that's kind of when they started.
Right, okay. Well, and then like it dovetails out of Inferno, I think?
Yeah.
Right, so, I mean, basically like the Reavers get them, they get in, like... Havok accidentally kills Storm, all this stuff happens, and then the last remaining ones, I forget the cosmic entity's name, but she's basically like, you've done more than your share. Oh, wait, actually,
Is that the girl with the gold face?
You know what? I'm wrong. It is Roma. And
Obviously, it's not as good as this because you can't even remember what issue it was.
Well, it's been a while. It's not. It doesn't come out of that. It comes out of Fall of the Mutants. Yeah. Okay, so after Fall of the Mutants,
Was the
Roma-
nanny the gold face?
No.
No, Nanny was like this egg-looking thing, and she had the orphan
okay.
maker.
Oh,
It was
okay.
like it was bizarre.
That was Silvestri time, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and Jim Lee too, because like 247 or 8
was
is.
first Jim Lee.
Yeah.
So that 3-issue thing with Psylocke and stuff, right?
No, before that, the issue, like the cover of it is
Oh, it's a
literally
pink
like.
pink cover. Colossus is pulling something back.
No, that,
Yeah.
Is it?
Colossus, he's like, why Havok? Why did you kill Storm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But okay, so I mean, I could talk about Claremont all night.
Have you seen that documentary?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great.
we talked about it.
Yeah, we did.
4, Born Again, Daredevil.
Oh, you skipped Dark Phoenix Saga.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 5, Dark Phoenix Saga. Wow.
First time I'm more sober than you on an episode.
Dude, seriously, like second beer.
This is wow
Happened last
cliffhanger.
time too.
That was good too. That was really good.
I've never read the whole thing.
No, it's man. It was,
I mean, I know what happened.
you know what tripped me out about that? This is something I found out in the last year or two. So on the Avengers TV show, the British TV show, Steed Peel, there's a Hellfire Club episode, and I have it. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing when you look at it from being an X-Men fan, because they kidnap who's is it Peel?
I know.
Who's the
I'm
chick?
so unfamiliar.
Peel, Emma Peel, and they brainwash her and they turn her into the Black Queen.
Oh my God!
And she's decked out like
basically in the lingerie, right?
Exactly like that. Exactly.
Wow.
And there's a Hellfire Club, and they get it. It's like an underground society, and they fight, and it's a real. I'll bring it, dude. It's really cool. So I can't remember the name of the episode, but if you Google the Avengers, Steed and Peel plus Hellfire Club, you can find it. It's online. You can watch it for free.
Wait, and that's like what year?
60s.
So that's where they got it from.
Oh yeah. No, I think it's
That's-
I mean they don't hide it, you know.
Didn't realize that.
So, but I mean that was the series too where Wolverine's like, holy shit, that issue where Wolverine cuts loose. I think X-Men 133. He's down in the sewers of like underneath the Hellfire Club and just
Oh yeah,
kicking everybody's
yeah,
ass.
like
It's
all
like,
those
oh,
like
yeah.
faceless
Yeah,
soldiers.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah.
called A Touch of Brimstone.
Ooh yeah, there we go. Touch of Brimstone. You can find it on YouTube. I watched the whole thing and then I bought it
Nice.
on DVD.
Number-
like a good boy. Yeah.
Number 4, Born Again, Daredevil. I can't say his name.
Mazzucchelli.
I read it years ago. It's fantastic. You know, it's basically what's the girlfriend's name? The blonde.
Karen Page.
Is basically, I believe it starts out where she's like a drug addict and goes to Kingpin and is like, "I'll give you Daredevil if you, I guess, give me more heroin or whatever."
Well, first she said, "I suck your dick," and then he's like, "No, I don't
yeah,
want that."
Kingpin's like, "I'm not into
And then
that.
he's like, all right, I'll tell you who Daredevil is.
I prefer to masturbate while the owl, fillets
That's like
Crocodile
from some
Man or
guy-
whatever it is
yeah.
that he was into." Yeah, so that might be in that Daredevil series coming up on Netflix with yeah.
What the thing? The
What-
joke that I
No,
said?
yeah.
Can I just backtrack here for a second?
Sure.
Emma Peel at the Hellfire Club, 1966. Holy crap.
What?
She's dressed in like a Playboy bunny outfit and she's
Oh,
got like
it's
a
amazing.
snake wrapped around her hand. That's pretty like risque.
Can you
for
show us?
1966.
Can you just flip that around? Yeah, there it is.
And so here's the funny thing.
And that's
though.
what it looks like in the comic.
In the X-Men comics, like that's exactly what they look like. The White Queen, which is Emma Frost, who later becomes a good guy, and then the Black Queen, which is Selene or Selena, the vampire, psychic vampire. Like that's how they're dressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the '80s X-Men. A lot of
That's how we like our.
scantily clad,
That's how we like our TV and our comics,
Yeah.
Sarah.
God, remember
That's how we like our
remember
entertainment.
Madeline Pryor as the Goblin Queen?
Yeah.
Holy smokes! All right, anyway,
But Born Again.
wow, it's Born Again.
And by the way, Daredevil, oddly enough, is a Catholic, I think.
Yes.
So Born Again, you see what they did there? Born Again Catholic.
It's really good though. So basically,
He used to wear a plaid skirt when he was a kid.
oh, Karen Page gives the Kingpin his identity, Matt Murdock, and then basically the Kingpin ruins his life.
Yes.
And I don't remember how he comes back from it, and then somehow I guess Kingpin forgot who he was or whatever.
It happens,
Yeah.
I mean, or like thinks that he was wrong.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been right. Yeah.
Number 3. This is, to this day, I'm going to bring this on eventually as a flashback pick. One of the greatest stories I've ever read in the comics medium. Kraven's Last Hunt. There were 3 Spider-Man titles in the mid to late 80s. It was Web of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, and The Amazing Spider-Man. And they did this thing that is, what's his name wrote it?
J.M. DeMatteis,
yes. And I think
I ruined
Mike
his name.
Zeck, I think.
Zach drew it, John Beatty inked it, yeah. The team that did the Punisher.
And
series.
so it basically, it ran for 2 months through all 3 titles. So
6 issues.
And Kraven in the first issue finds Peter Parker as Spider-Man. This is black costume, and shoots him in the face on a rooftop and buries him. And then I won't give everything away, but he proceeds to take a bunch of hallucinogens, fight a giant spider that he hallucinates, and then he puts on the black costume and goes out and is like, now I will become a better version of my foe. And then he just starts killing criminals. And it's
that last Tuesday.
It's a good Tuesday
Also known
night.
as the Robin Williams story.
It is just, I mean,
Sorry, I had to.
it is a Vertigo level.
How's it in, Shawn? How's it in?
I'll never forget my older cousin, one of my older cousins, what are you reading, Spider-Man? He picked it up, and it's the penultimate issue of this, where Kraven basically puts a shotgun in his mouth and blows his fucking brains out all over a picture of his family.
Nirvana.
And I'll never forget my cousin, who was 20 at the time. He's like, "Wow, comics have really changed since my day." It's fantastic. Now that's a spoiler, but it's not, because just read it. That doesn't even matter. It's just, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. So I'm perfectly fine with that being number 3.
It's a good story.
I'm glad. I was really glad to see that it was in the top 10. 2, Civil War. Great until the last issue. I
think the last issue of Civil War is Captain America 25.
I agree with that.
Then
Now, I
it's
never
got an
thought
ending.
of that before
Yeah.
you said that a couple issues ago. That makes it a little bit better. I remember leading up to it, I hadn't read a crossover in forever. I didn't generally at that time read anything that had Iron Man or Captain America in it. And I remember reading a comic shop news where they were behind the scenes of the pitch, or the meetings where the writers are writing this, and it's Bendis and Millar are talking about this, and I think it's J. Michael Straczynski or whatever stands up. He's like, "You can't do that!" And they're reporting this. I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be some shit, right? They're gonna change some shit."
Yeah.
Status quo out the window, and no, not at all.
Well, I think this is the first. A year before they had House of M, which was a good.
Read it.
At the end, Scarlet Witch says no more mutants.
Yeah, I know.
And it brings the mutant population way down to where it needs to be. Civil War, I think, is the first kind of cinematic mainstream Marvel comic.
I would agree with that for sure.
The characters. It just injected a new life, I think, into the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So in that esteem, it's pretty important. And Mark Millar wrote it. I have a love-hate relationship with Mark Millar.
I do too.
But he does think in very sort of modern pop sensibility.
Well, and
terms.
at that time, I feel like he didn't feel the need to go full Millar all the time, where I'm going to outdo myself.
Right. Yeah.
And the first 2 Ultimates. That is totally where the Marvel Cinematic Universe comes from. He revived it, and it's okay.
He casts his comics. Too.
Yeah, right. He does.
Eminem is in Wanted.
Let's do this with now we have hindsight. Let's make everything tie together instead of having all this willy-nilly stuff. And the first 2 Ultimates, my friend Mike at Amazing Fantasy had to force me to read the first one. He kept read it. I was like, no, I'm not interested, dude. Not interested. When I read it, I was like, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. And then the second one was
did that
as
predate
good.
Civil War? Or?
I believe so.
It's around the same time at least. Yeah.
I think what happened was Ultimates became so popular that they're like, okay, now we have to either get rid of the original Marvel Universe or bring it up to speed.
Or just make Ultimates suck, and then they made Ultimates 3.
And then Jeff Loeb writes 3, and
oh my god, what a train wreck!
I've ever read.
It's awful.
And I will say, there's one of the science officers, if you could Google moviepilot.com Civil War. I found this last week. There's a girl, I forget her name, and she's like the editor-in-chief of this website, moviepilot.com, and she wrote this, I put it on our Facebook, enormous article about why she can pretty much guarantee that Marvel is going towards a place where they're going to do Civil War in the movie.
They should. I mean, it's a great idea.
Well, they should, but the big stumbling block, of course, at this point is that Spider-Man, they can't do him in movies right now.
Yeah, not in Marvel. Yeah, not in Marvel.
And he's
movies.
a huge part of Civil War. So
Yeah, well, they can write around that.
they could. But
Well, it seems to be, is it an Infinity War or a Civil War?
My
Civil
hands are
War.
tied.
Well, they're making
What was that? Because it was.
a distinction.
wait, I'm sorry, they're making a distinction. What do you mean?
He's drunk. I'm sorry. Wait, what do you mean they're making a distinction?
Between Infinity War and Civil War.
Oh, who knows? We'll figure it out later.
Okay. Well, anyway,
What's the number one
it's
book?
It's a great article. Number 1, Death of Gwen Stacy. Spoiler warning if you didn't see the movie that was out 2 months ago that apparently nobody saw.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's super important. I've never read it. I know what happens. I don't want to downplay it. I don't know if it should be number 1.
it's a good story. I don't know if it's better than Amazing Fantasy 15.
I was going to say, so would you say that Amazing Fantasy 15 maybe should be number 1 and Death of Gwen Stacy should be number 10?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I mean, it was a big deal. I remember, so when I started reading comics, I think this happened in, 1975 or 74 or something like that. But, so this had already happened, and it had an impact on Spider-Man's life. And I remember when I started reading comics, which was in the late 70s, it was something he always talked about. So it was like one of those things that had repercussions over many years. So it's important. Is it the number 1 Marvel comic story ever? I don't know. Maybe not.
Fair enough.
I don't think
Fair
so.
enough.
I think it's good.
So I have 2 questions. Of the 10 that you did, how many were from this decade? Or from 2000 forward?
Civil War.
What year is
Winter
Marvel's?
Soldier. Marvel's was late 80s or late 90s.
So 2.
So two.
Which is good. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I was going to say.
And then we got Secret Wars, Avengers, FF. I mean, a lot of big Annihilation, which for a long time I didn't think was all that important, but now that I'm a Guardians nerd, oh yeah, it's very important. Daredevil 181 was a big one.
I mean, there's some interest now. Number 27 is Maximum Carnage. Never read it.
Played the video game.
Can't really. I don't know.
Remember, it was a big video game too that tied in.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and then I mean, yeah.
So wait. Let's see. Let's just see what numbers.
There's a lot of good comics. This is a free magazine. Come to the Wolverine party on Saturday. I'll give you a copy.
Number 75. No, okay. We'll end this here. But number 75 is the Death of Spider-Man from Ultimate Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. I don't read it, but since it has held and Peter Parker died and it's Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll totally buy that. Pretty important, right? Number 74. Warren Ellis's Next Wave Agents of Hate. Totally agree. It's amazing. If you've not read it, it's just a farce. It's
like Adult Swim for Marvel Comics.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's exactly what it is. It's collected. It's.
I don't know if it's in there or not, but X-Force, the Peter Milligan, Mike Allred run should be in there.
I've heard that. I've never read it.
Which I thought was, I'm kind of was a precursor to this, and in my opinion, it was better. I mean, I love Mike Allred though, so it's like, it's cool. I remember when Spider-Man got married.
Yeah, I have it somewhere. Yeah, it's cool. Okay.
Moral of the story is Marvel's made a lot of great comics over the years.
A lot of great comics.
Yeah. Happy 75th, Marvel.
Happy 75th. We kind of glossed over the mailbag, and I think we have a question pending.
We have a Twitter question from last time, and we have a new question.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
Hit us with both.
So the last question was, what do you think of all the witches hype? Will it live up to it?
So you may be able to speak to this more than
I read it.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so did it come out?
No, not yet.
Oh, so it's Scott Snyder writing it, and who's doing the art?
Jock.
Okay. What's your take? How's it?
I thought it was really good. I'm not so much affected by hype though. I mean, is it being hyped a lot? I think it is. I mean, all Image number ones right now are really like everybody's like, what's the next saga? What's the next Walking Dead?
Yeah.
I do think it's a very good story. I think that it does what a horror story should do. I mean, it sets
horror.
up. Yeah. I mean,
Because his Severed is fantastic.
I think Scott Snyder is a very kind of Stephen King writer, where he gives you characters that are very easy to relate to and identify with, as far as who's about to go through hell. You know.
I would totally agree with that.
And yeah, I mean, it's a good setup. Jock's art, which I was worried, Jock drawing sequential art, because Jock is a great
cover artist.
He's a great cover artist, great designer, but he's doing a great job storytelling, and yeah, I'm on board. It looks good. I'm excited.
All right.
Hi, Scott. Come to the comic book, sign some comics.
I don't know much about it. It's good to hear it's horror.
It's I mean, it takes place. It seems like it was modern day, and it's a family that's moved to a new town. I don't want to give too much away. Mm-hmm. Families moved to a new town, and they have a daughter who's kind of has trouble adjusting with the world around her, and hilarity ensues.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Or horror ensues, I guess you should say.
I would definitely agree, and we talked about when, we talked about The Wake at some point. I forget when, but really liked it. I don't know that I love the ending, which is fine. I mean, being a Grant Morrison fan, you don't always get a great ending from him. I love you, Grant, but
happy ending.
But I mean, and that's kind of a Stephen King thing as well, where it's like,
yes,
I mean, he turns it in enough, but sometimes the journey is enough.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. So, next question.
And then Derek from Torrance asks, give us a serious review of that red IPA from Sierra Nevada. I don't know if anybody's had the red IPA yet.
There's 2 gold caps. There should still be 2 gold caps. You can have one right now.
Can I have one? Is Derek here right now?
No,
oh.
but he's on Twitter.
That would be totally
what is he
bizarre.
doing? How does he know that we have this even in the house to review?
I think he saw one of the pictures I posted.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go.
The cooler
Live reviews on Church Key. Oh, I've had this. It's good. I'm going to tell you right now, Derek, it's good. But I'm going to pretend I haven't had it just so I can have another beer. It's good, Derek, but I will say, don't drink it after the Shipyard.
Yeah.
Because Shipyard is amazing, and this is good. This is good.
Plus, Shipyard has that, like...
I like the Groot's on the bottle.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Shipyard has that, like, the pumpkin spices tend to cling to your tongue, and so they, like, if you drink something after that, it kind of still lingers and messes
Plus,
with the
I
taste.
bit, dude, look at this.
Oh!
I bit my tongue at lunch today. My tongue's all fucked up right now.
Oh.
It's amazing I can't even talk. But,
oh my god!
Did you see that? It was gnarly, huh?
I bit my tongue last week, but not that bad. Like,
Yeah, I don't. How did I do that, dude?
I don't know.
You need a close up for the viewers.
No, I don't want to show.
Maybe you want to? No.
No.
I'll take a picture at some point.
Any other questions?
No, that's it from Twitter
Good.
Okay.
and Facebook. Right?
So did I give him a proper? I mean, it's good. It's pretty
You
good.
said Baby Groots. I don't know
Yeah.
if you are online at all in terms of like Etsy or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that, but Groot is huge in the crochet community right
I
now.
bet. Yeah. I saw a really beautiful Groot necklace, and grooting as a dance thing has become a phenomenon. You know about this? Did you know this? Okay. I can't teach you kids anything.
Wow, Grooting.
You know what grooting
You
is?
just like
All right, look over there. Now look at me.
Nice.
I just grooted you, dude.
All right, so it's kind of like being Rickrolled without having to hear Rick Astley. Or Astley, or whatever his name is.
what is it?
Rick Astley?
Rick Astley. Who's Rick Astley?
That's his name. No, you got it. Yeah.
Astley.
You can't. You wouldn't be able to make it in entertainment today with a name like Rick
No,
Astley.
you
I don't
wouldn't.
think.
You wouldn't. It's funny, same era, Christopher Cross, Ride Like the Wind, and all that stuff. You know, I read something fairly recently. You know what killed his career? Music
Chris
videos.
Cross? Oh yeah, because he's ugly. Oh yeah.
That's what the article said. It's like,
No,
he's not a good-looking guy. It
Well,
killed
dude,
his
if you
career.
look at like bands and like when MTV first came out, we weren't so critical. Like Dire Straits, those were some ugly dudes, man.
And a lot of, dude, look at Kiss. Like, there's some motley looking.
Yeah, but they
dudes.
have kabuki makeup usually.
They're like sex symbols and.
Yeah.
Yeah, but.
Ooh.
Huh?
We're gonna diverge for a minute here, and as a punk rock photographer, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I picked up the new issue of Classic Rock, and like so, there's interviews with like a lot of guys that have been in the game for a long time, but I'm trying to think. Like Saxon or something, playing their final shows, and
Their
it looks
final
like,
shows.
I don't know, like it looks like my grandpa, and then they'll have like the before. or the now, and then like their heyday photos, and like it's like it blows my mind. It's like shit, I'm gonna get old, man, and it depresses me. But
That's the band that did Am I Evil first, right? If I'm not mistaken, which
maybe
Metallica later covered.
no, that was that wasn't Saxon. That was somebody else. I can't.
Okay.
I have that on cassette.
Somebody from that.
I know you're talking. Diamond Head.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Boom.
All right.
You have cassettes.
Cassettes.
I do. Well, I had it on cassette. I don't know if I said. I do have that. I have cassettes still, but yes. Oh, for Record Store Day this year, they're putting out Awesome Mix on cassette,
Oh, I saw
which
that.
I'm
yeah.
excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Supreme, you read it. I haven't. I just looked at the pictures. I think it's beautiful. I wanted to see what you thought of it.
What I didn't realize so this is a book. This is a new Warren Ellis and Tula Lotte from Image, Supreme Blue Rose. He put it in my box, and I picked it up, and I had no idea that it was actually Supreme, which is like a Rob Liefeld character, right?
Yeah.
He's not in the book.
Well, he did the same thing with Prophet. Not too
Right,
long
right.
ago, yeah.
Which, I mean, I've been meaning to read Prophet since you recommended it to me. It looks amazing. Like, they turned that into this, like, weird surrealist thing.
Yeah.
But this is really interesting.
Beautiful.
I don't know where it's going. But again, that Supreme character is not in it so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, now every time I mention this, we end up cutting it out. So because it ends up being a tangent, I won't do that now. But so they basically enlist this chick to like look into these Blue Rose cases. They're kind of weird government cases, and that's straight from Twin Peaks. Fire Walk with Me, the Blue Rose.
Oh, is that a Twin Peaks reference?
I don't know, but I mean, I feel like maybe they just took the idea and they're like, let's appropriate that for our what we need to do with it. But it seems like a direct reference to me.
It's funny because when you mentioned this was a Rob Liefeld character, I forgot about that.
He's like a Superman, right?
He is like this. Rob has become this canvas where like smart comic creators come and like we're just gonna shit all over everything he did, but for some reason we want to name it after.
Well,
so Ecstatics, X-Force, started as X-Force. He sent a letter to Peter Milligan when that first issue came out, which I thought was awesome and fun and smart. He's like, thanks for ruining my characters, bro. And then Prophet, which is like nothing Rob Liefeld would ever do, and even what was the other one that was it was a female character,
no,
it came out around the same time as Prophet, a couple years ago. Anyway,
Okay.
but it was another Rob Liefeld character, and it's like, but it's smart and it's like almost like a Vertigo book.
Well, I mean, here's the interesting thing. The interesting thing. Now, I don't want to pick on him because I feel like it's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
No offense. I mean, we won't get into it.
But I feel like all these smart comic creators are picking on him when they make his books better.
He's so smart because,
You know?
and he's in a medium where he can do this. Like M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong,
Mm-hmm.
just stop. You're never going to be able to make, you will never
it.
make another movie that's not going to be tainted by your name, for right or wrong, okay? In comics, though, Rob Liefeld, like, people scoff at him. So he's kind of smart, and it seems like he's like, you know what? I'm not going to do my own stuff anymore. I'm going to give it to these people that are going to do something that's so different than what people expect.
I don't
that
think he
you won't
does
even
that though.
recognize it.
I don't think he
Yeah.
is the one that's. It's Eric
No,
Stevenson who's hiring them. I think.
But if Image's whole thing is Rob Liefeld owns it.
He does own
right?
it, yeah, I
So
don't know
he's
how-
got to be signing off on it.
We should have Rob on the show. He could tell us how that
Yeah.
works.
If we have
Wait,
him and
did
Scott
we just
Snyder on.
destroy him on a previous?
No, but he's largely destroyed. I mean,
He does. He's a good guy. He'll come out.
his stuff is
Defend
he's
himself.
held in such disdain because his stuff is so 1991. I mean, his art's ridiculous, but it was the zeitgeist then, and I mean, it was really popular and hot. I mean, I thought it was great at the time.
It has energy.
I was
It-
also.
oh,
a
I mean,
Pantera
it
fan,
did.
So there
It-
you go.
I love when he got fired off Captain America. So when Marvel did Heroes Reborn, I know we're running out of time, but he got fired from Heroes Reborn after like 5 issues because everything was splash pages with no backgrounds, and so then he took, because he'd already started drawing 6, 7, and 8 or whatever. So there was a character that predated Captain America called the Fighting American that it wasn't very popular, but he went and got the rights to the Fighting American, changed the suit a little bit, and published the stuff that he was working on under Fighting American.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. A little trivia for you.
Apparently, we're having a kickboxing class.
Yeah. Well, we never get to everything that we want to. We're at an hour, and we're just we're gonna call it. I really wanted to get to.
Oh, do it then real quick. Overtime.
Grant Morrison's Annihilator with Fraser Irving, fantastic.
I love this cover too. I know you talked
yeah.
about it already, but I love that cover. Go ahead.
Really cool. I've been waiting for it. Wait a minute.
I think you had, but wait, if it's crap.
Joe, you set up. Is this the Cosmic Cube?